Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Hi everybody, I'm a grateful member of Alanon, and I'll be the secretary for our meeting, the Alanon closing meeting of Living Sober 2012. Has everybody had a good conference so far? Great. Let's open the meeting with a moment of silence to do with As You Wish, followed by the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Hi, everybody. This is the end of Living Sober 2012, and, I always get kind of sad, but I will be so glad to take these things off, Until next year. The people who helped put on the conference, the Alanon part of it, I'd like to, it's really been a pleasure to work with John M., who will be in shortly. But like John said earlier, this was really a dream team. It was people who have done service for Living Sober in the past, and so it wasn't like we had to reinvent anything. And if you saw a workshop that, oh, I think I remember that, that's been around a while, it's because we didn't have to reinvent a lot of things. But I would like to say thank you and to get some recognition for my teammates for this conference. And if they would just please stand, and later let's recognize them. But Joe T. and DK. And with perfect timing, coming down the aisle, is our leader, John M. So thank you very much. Thank you for showing up. And I would like to put a plug in for doing service for Living Sober. I've done it a number of times, and I can tell you that, I love Living Sober. It doesn't take that much effort. And when you have other people to do it, it's like a meeting, like any Alanon meeting around the world. And that is that, you don't have to do it all yourself. We have meetings probably just once a month for about an hour, hour and a half or something like that. You get to choose the workshops. And then probably one of the most, I think the most spiritual thing is actually picking the speakers. That you recruit people, and this year I think we had 10 or more speakers who submitted, but you get to listen to them, and everybody has something good to say, but then higher power takes over, and it comes down to, the top 4 speakers, the Alanon speakers, and you know that you are doing something spiritual there. We have a sign-up sheet to be on the committee for next year, 2013. Joe has got it, and we're going to pass it around. And if you feel so moved to do service and you want to come back to Living Sober 2013, put your name on the list, and we'll contact you in August. And there's going to be a meeting for the first planning committee for next year. So, let's see. Okay, it's time to have the welcome. We welcome you to the Living Sober closing meeting, Alanon Family Group, and hope you will find in this fellowship the help and friendship we have been privileged to enjoy. We who live or have lived with the problem of alcoholism understand as perhaps few others can. We too were lonely and frustrated, but in Alanon we discover that no situation is really hopeless and that it is possible for us to find contentment and even happiness, whether the alcoholic is still drinking or not. We urge you to try our program. It has helped many of us find solutions that lead to serenity. So much depends on our own attitudes. And as we learn to place our problem in its true perspective, we find it loses its power to dominate our thoughts and our lives. The family situation is bound to improve as we apply the Alanon ideas. Without such spiritual help, living with an alcoholic is too much for most of us. Our thinking becomes distorted by trying to force solutions, and we become irritable and unreasonable without knowing it. The Alanon program is based on the 12 steps adapted from Alcoholics Anonymous, which we try little by little, one day at a time, to apply to our lives along with our slogans and the Serenity Prayer. The loving interchange of help among members and daily reading of Alanon literature thus make us ready to receive the priceless gift of serenity. Alanon is an anonymous fellowship. Everything that is said here in the group meeting and member to member must be held in confidence. Only in this way can we feel free to say what is in our minds and hearts, for this is how we help one another in Alanon. And I've asked Patrick to read the preamble.
My name is Patrick, and I'm a grateful member of Alanon. Hello. The Alanon family groups are a fellowship of relatives and friends who share their experience, strength, and hope in order to solve their common problems. We believe alcoholism is a family illness and that changed attitudes can aid recovery. Alanon is not allied with any sect, denomination, political entity, organization, or institution. Does not engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. There are no dues for membership. Alanon is self-supporting through its own voluntary contributions. Alanon has but one purpose: to help families of alcoholics. We do this by practicing the 12 steps, by welcoming and giving comfort to families of alcoholics, and by giving understanding and encouragement to the alcoholic. Alcoholism is a family disease. We would like to remind you that our children are also affected and that there is a program of support and help for them called Alateen.
Thank you, Patrick. I've asked Augusta to read the 12 steps.
Hi, my name is Augusta. I'm a grateful member of Alanon. Step 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood God. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all our shortcomings. Step 7, asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became ready to make amends to them all. Step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, continue to take personal inventory of ourselves. Let me try that again, I'm going to read it. continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thank you, Augusta. And I've asked Kate to read the 12 traditions.
Hi, my name is Kate, and I'm a very grateful member of Alanon. Thank you. 12 traditions of Alanon. Our common welfare, 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal progress for the greatest number depends upon unity. 2, for our group purpose there is but one authority, a loving God as God may be expressed in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the relatives of alcoholics, when gathered together for mutual aid, may call themselves an Alanon family group, provided that, as a group, they have no other affiliation. The only requirement for membership is that there be a problem of alcoholism in a relative or friend. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting another group or Alanon or AA as a whole. 5, each Alanon family group has but one purpose, to help families of alcoholics. We do this by practicing the 12 steps of AA ourselves, by encouraging and understanding our alcoholic relatives, and by welcoming and giving comfort to families of alcoholics. 6, our Alanon family groups ought never endorse, finance, or lend our name to outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary spiritual aim. Although a separate entity, we should always cooperate with Alcoholics Anonymous. 7, every group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, Alanon 12-step work should remain professional, forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, our groups as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, the Alanon family groups have no opinion on outside issues, hence our name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, TV, and films. We need guard with special care the anonymity of all AA members. 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles above personalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. I've asked Adam to read the 3 obstacles.
Hi, I'm Adam. Hi. The 3 obstacles to success in Alanon. All Alanon discussions should be constructive, helpful, loving, and understanding. In striving toward these ideals, we avoid topics that can lead to dissension and distract us from our goals. 1, discussions of religion. Alanon is not allied with any sect or denomination. It is a spiritual program based on no particular form of religion. Everyone is welcome, no matter of what affiliation or none. Let us not defeat our purpose by entering into discussions concerning specific religious tenets. Number 2, gossip. We meet to help ourselves and others to learn and use the Alanon philosophy. In such group therapy, gossip can have no part in our program. We do not discuss members or others, and particularly the alcoholic. Our dedication to anonymity gives people confidence in Alanon. Careless repeating of matters heard at meetings can defeat the very purposes for which we are joined together. Number 3, dominance. Our leaders are chosen not to govern, but to serve. No member of Alanon should direct, assume authority, or give advice. Our program is based on suggestion, interchange of experience, rotation of leadership. Each person makes progress in his or her own way and pace. Any attempt to manage or direct is likely to have disastrous consequences for group harmony.
Thank you, Adam. Okay, and I've asked Kathy to read the promises.
Hi, my name is Kathy, and I can break a microphone. And I'm a grateful member of Alanon. The promises, From Survival to Recovery, page 269. If we willingly surrender ourselves to the spiritual discipline of the 12 steps, our lives will be transformed. We will become mature, responsible individuals with a great capacity for joy, fulfillment, and wonder. Though we may never be perfect, continued spiritual progress will reveal to us our enormous potential. We will discover that we are both worthy of love and loving. We will love others without losing ourselves, and will learn to accept love in return. Our sight, once clouded and confused, will clear, and we will be able to perceive reality and recognize truth. Courage and fellowship will replace fear. We will be able to risk failure to develop new hidden talents. Our lives, no matter how battered and degraded, will yield hope to share with others. We will begin to feel and will come to know the vastness of our emotions, but we will not be slaves to them. Our secrets will no longer bind us in shame. As we gain the ability to forgive others, ourselves, our families, and the world, our choices will expand. With dignity, we will stand for ourselves, but not against our fellows. Serenity and peace will have meaning for us as we allow our lives and the lives of those we love to flow day by day with God's ease, balance, and grace. No longer terrified, we will discover we are free to delight in life's paradox, mystery, and awe. We will laugh more. Fear will be replaced by faith, and gratitude will come naturally as we realize that our higher power is doing for us what we cannot do for ourselves. Can we really grow to such proportions? Only if we accept life as a continuing process of maturation and evolution towards wholeness. Then we suddenly begin to notice these gifts appearing. We see them in those who walk beside us, sometimes slowly or haltingly, occasionally with great bursts of brilliance. Those who work the steps change and grow toward light, toward health, and toward their higher power. Watching others, we realize this is also possible for us. Will we ever arrive, feel joyful all the time, have no cruelty, tragedy, or injustice to face? Probably not. But we will acquire growing acceptance of our human fallibility, as well as greater love and tolerance for each other. Self-pity, resentment, martyrdom, rage, and depression will fade into memory. Community, rather than loneliness, will define our lives. We will know that we belong, we are welcome, we have something to contribute, and that this is enough.
Thank you, Kathy. Before I introduce this morning's speaker, I'd just like to ask, how many people went to the CHIP meeting? All right, very good. And Callery was our speaker, and I think everybody had a wonderful time. But if you did not go to the CHIP meeting, we have some extra chips, and I'm going to leave them up here at the front, and you get your choice. Isn't it nice to have choices? You get blue or yellow. So they will be here. And feel free to come and take one. And now it's time, and it gives me really a great privilege to introduce our speaker this morning. I've been coming to these rooms for a while, and I think I've known our speaker for about 5 years, and I really feel lucky because I get to go to at least 2 meetings that he goes to. We go to the Thursday night Gay Men's AAC at the Alanon Club, and we also go to the Sunday night end of the line meditation meeting. And I can tell you, I mean, I need Alanon every day, and I know that when I go to a meeting where this person is and when he shares, I walk away. There's so much wisdom from this young man.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
So without further ado, he's looking around, but I think you're going to see a lot more of him in the future. Anyway, it's really great now to introduce Bob Kay.
Hi, my name is Bob King. Here, I thought he was talking about me till the end there. Let me just start the timer if I can. Okay, there we go. We're started. Wow, thank you all very much for coming. Can you hear me? Yes, excellent. I mean, I really appreciate all of you, and I appreciate so much that knowing that you could be home right now, sitting in your underwear, reading the New York Times, and instead you're in this giant meat locker with the rest of us. So it's a little chilly. I think if anybody wants to get up and do a couple jumping jacks, just feel free. I'll just move on. You know, I've long dreamed of standing here and sharing my story with you. You know, two weeks ago, it was the classic dream where there were like 10,000 people and I was naked. Classic. And then there was a dream 2 nights ago where there was this big giant room and there were 2 people and they were out there and they were even texting. You know, so it's been a dream. But I really, you know, this is just my story. Alanon is in the literature, and this is just my story. And for those of you with the short attention span, I'll just give you the really quick and dirty of how it was, what happened, and how it is now. So my parents were drunks. I married a tweaker, and then my life got a lot better when I came to Alanon. So that's what's been happening. Thank you very much. You know, born in New Haven, Connecticut. My dad was a fireman, and he drank shots and beers. My mom was a bookkeeper at the church. Irish Catholics, very, very much into the church. 5 kids, I was 4 out of 5. Everybody drank. And when I say that, it was like I didn't know people that didn't drink. Growing up, I never knew people that drink. I do remember I was maybe 10 or 12, somebody came to the house and we went to give them a drink and they didn't drink, and I thought there was something wrong. I thought the person was sick. You know, that's just the environment. It was like gravity and oxygen. It was things that were just there. There was liquor on the cabinet and like on the counter next to the flour and sugar and a big bottle of whiskey. That's the house I grew up in. So drinking was there all the time. Nice people, though. They worked really, really hard. My dad, as a fireman, never didn't go to work because he was drinking. He just drank and worked. And the same with my mom. She drank and worked, which, you know, being a bookkeeper probably didn't work out so well for the church, I'm thinking. Because one day when I was about 15, I came home from school and to find the priest and my mom's doctor and my dad and some of my sisters in the living room with my mom, and they were having an intervention. And my mom, after a lifetime of drinking Manhattans, which are horrible, you know, my mom found AA, which was fantastic. It was really a fantastic change. So my dad kept right on drinking. My dad was never influenced by my mom, and God bless her. I mean, she was never really in Alanon, but what a life where she stopped drinking and he just kept right on going. And you know, she would get him shots and beers, and then she would go off to her meetings. It was remarkable. So mom found AA, and then instead of being an alcoholic, she became a sloganaholic, you know. And everything in the house was plastered with, you know, keep coming back. And, you know, you couldn't grab a pencil. You'd be in school and you'd be like, oh, keep it simple. What's that about? There were keychains. You'd open the pamphlets flying out all over the place. She was real. She went into it with a vengeance, you know, and she wanted us to go too. So she would lure us there by saying, you know, we're going to be going out for ice cream right after this meeting. Why don't you come with us? So, you know, I went to a couple of AA meetings and with my mom and heard these like incredible stories, which, you know, decades later still stick with me of these people's shares. And but I couldn't, I wasn't ready, you know. A lot of my journey has been not being ready and waiting for that right time to come. You know, I was not ready then. Alanon was available, Alateen was available, I just wasn't ready. And so that was kind of my first Alanon near miss. I went to those meetings and then kept on going. I just kept right on going with my craziness. You know, I went off to college, I came out, I moved to Boston, I met a guy, and it was the middle of the 80s. So AIDS crisis all around us. I found my first partner, and we just clung on tight to each other. And we hung on to each other for 17 years. And it was great. It was great. He's a beautiful man. He's still around, and he's a great guy. We're not together anymore. I spent, you know, we met in Boston, and we moved out here. We moved to San Francisco. I set into my typical routine of managing, you know, mothering, just manipulating him, and that's how I spent our 17 years together. I was in full-on craziness. When I look back about my Alanon story, I was a nutcase, you know, and how I was so into somebody else's life. You know, he was a writer, and he was a writer and very mellow and didn't have aspirations of taking over the world. But I had aspirations for him to take over the world. I needed him to get like a better job and do something and write the great novel. I needed that to happen. So I kept trying to make that happen for 17 years. And I would, you know, he would occasionally, he was often unemployed or underemployed, and he'd say, oh, maybe I'll go get a job. Maybe I'll work in Starbucks. I'm gonna go work in Starbucks. And I'd say, no, don't work in Starbucks. I'd rather keep working more so you don't have to work in Starbucks, because then you'd be unhappy. You know, fucking nuts. Just, you're trying to kind of fix his life. I was also, you know, I was so controlling. I would work all day, and then I'd come home and I'd go do the food shopping. Now, he wasn't working. He could have gone food shopping. But I wanted to do the food shopping because I wanted it done my way. And then I would come home, then I'd go food shopping and be a maniac in Safeway, throwing things in a basket. And my favorite Alanon crazy bit was like, I'd go shopping at Safeway, and I'd go up to checkout, and I'd put things on the conveyor belt the way I wanted them put in the bag. Heavy, 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 light, 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 heavy, 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 light, light, light. Really? Really? Let it go. And then I'd come home and I'd cook. I'd cook too. So I work, go food shopping, come home and cook. Why? Because I like to cook? No, I don't really like to cook. So I can cook, it's all right, but I don't like it. I wanted it done my way, you know? And after years of this, after like decades of this, you know, I didn't have tools to communicate how I was feeling. I had no idea how I was feeling. I just knew I was unhappy. You know, I was unhappy that I was working so much and he wasn't. I was unhappy that he wasn't living the life I wanted him to live. I was unhappy that, our sex life was crap. It just sucked because I couldn't communicate what I wanted. And one day after about 12 years, I was just so at the end of my rope that I wrote a letter. And because I couldn't say it, so I just typed up a letter. And I took it, and I knew he was going to be out for a while. So I took the letter, and I put it on the pillow, and I went out for a long walk. I went out for like 2 hours. And I knew he was on his way home, and it was so scary for me to like write up about what I needed and how it wasn't working and how I was afraid and I wanted to change our relationship and I needed things to be different. And I left that letter and I went out and I was really scared about what was going to happen when I came home, and we had to really talk about it. And I came home and I went in the bedroom and picked up it was still there, and just as I was holding it in my hand, the key turned in the lock and I could hear him come in behind me. And I took that letter and I hid it. I put it away. And we never talked. We never talked about that letter. He never saw that letter. 5 years later, we ended up breaking up. It was just, we continued to fight. All the issues were the same. All the issues were exactly the same. But I didn't have the courage to talk about it. And 5 years later, when we broke up after 17 years together, and I'm standing alone in my, half-empty house, because half of the stuff went off with him, I find this letter, and really it was a low point in my life at that point, that there was so much that I couldn't say. It was right there. It was all right here on a piece of paper. And I just couldn't say it. And I think back, if I had been able to say, if I had been able to find the courage and the tools to talk and say what was the problems, maybe things would have been different. But they weren't. They weren't. And we broke up, and I had a huge hole in my heart, and I had a huge hole in my life, which I went out and decided to try to fill with money and things and travel, and it says here whoring in my notes. Just for a little bit, I'm sure. It wasn't too bad. Year or two. I was profoundly sad. And the culmination of if you want to know loneliness, for me, the culmination of my loneliness was on Thanksgiving Day. Thanksgiving Day, I went to a great Thanksgiving dinner with some friends, and I got home early, and then I went online and started tricking online again. I mean, really tricking on Thanksgiving? That is sad. And that's when I met my second partner. And he had just features. He was a project. Recovering drug addict, 10 years clean, performance artist, Hawaiian performance artist. He was brown performance artist. I'm like a white guy from Connecticut working for an investment firm. We made a lovely couple. We would walk down the sidewalk together, and people would look, and they'd go, huh? Oh, okay. So we met, and there were, things were crazy. We were different. But one thing that I got from him, which was fantastic, is that one day he took me to a drag show. We're going to a drag show. Won't that be fun? It's drag bingo. It's going to be great. I'm like, all right, whatever. It was, of course, a fundraiser for Living Sober. So that is actually how I found Alanon. I went to a drag show, and there was a meeting before, and there was this drag queen up there speaking. Drag queen, somebody was in this room right now. And I heard this message, and I was so sobbing inside. It was all I could do to contain myself. Just hearing the promises and hearing the steps made me so profoundly sad. I knew that there was something like really missing in my life, and I knew that I had to start going to meetings. So I did. So I started going to the Yahoo meeting. I went like once a week religiously. It was great. I didn't do anything else. I just went to that meeting, and then I got myself a sponsor, because we're supposed to have a sponsor. So I went and got myself a sponsor, and that was good. So check sponsor. About 3 months later, I'm walking down the street, and I run into my sponsor on the street, and she says, "Hey, hi. You know you can call me sometime, because we're supposed to talk. This is how the sponsor thing works. You talk, and I talk, we talk. That's how, you can't just have a sponsor." So things got better. So I had a great program with her. I was like, I'm going to meet with her, and we're gonna 12 steps, 12 weeks maybe, and we'll knock these things out. Maybe 14 if she needs a little time. She was exactly the sponsor I needed, because she was fierce, and she was not on my schedule. We were on her schedule, and we were going to go through the steps one word at a time. The first week, we. Let's talk about we. Who do you think we are? Oh my God, powerless took 2 weeks because that's a compound word. Really powerless. It was tough going, but it was exactly what I needed. So I worked with that sponsor for about a year. But now I'm in Alanon. I'm with my partner, and things are kind of okay. I'm not cured because I'm in Alanon. It's just the beginning of understanding how things are fucked up. When we argue and we have issues, I remember, he's still in program and I'm in program, and I remember one time we went to this kayak regatta. So in Sausalito, they have this kayak regatta. I'm a big kayaker, I love it. And they have this, 1,000 kayaks go out on the bay for this one party once a year. And I really wanted to do it. And he wasn't a kayaker, but he was willing to do it. Of course, he wasn't paying attention. We went there, he didn't listen. He was on the phone when they were giving instructions, and he had never, it was just, he wasn't really into it. And he finally agreed. So if you ever want to test a relationship, get a double kayak with your partner, because you're on the water, okay, so you could die at any second. You have to work together. The person in the front sets the pace. The person in the back gets to steer. It's a relationship, you have to make it work. He decided this is how you do it. He's paddling, and I'm banging, and I'm so frustrated with him. We're out with all these people on the bay, and I am just losing my mind. He's just crazy. He's not paying attention. I'm so pissed off and screaming at him. And just then, in front of us, this giant, 30-foot huge motorboat comes and sails right in front of us. And on the back of it, in 2-foot-high letters, it says, SS Serenity. No word of a lie. It's exactly what happened. And I tapped him on the shoulder. I was like, "See, there's your boat right there. Look at that." That was, of course, my boat. And I didn't get that boat. I let it go by. I was in such a crazy place in denial. And, our lives it was difficult, and then it got more difficult. He lost his job, and I was manipulating him like crazy now, because I had all the money, and he had no money. And I put him on my insurance, and now he got access to all these new doctors. And I said his old ghetto doctor that he used to work with was no good, and he should go to these new doctors that he could go to on my insurance. Wouldn't that be great? So he goes off to this new doctor, and then he had lost his job, and he hurt himself, and all these things happened. And next thing we know, that he had convinced his doctor to give him painkillers for his hurt, and convinced his doctor to give him some medication for attention deficit syndrome, which is effectively speed. Now, I don't blame the doctor, and neither does he. Nobody blames anybody. There's no blame. It's just what happened. And so over the course of the next couple of years, he kept getting quirkier and quirkier in my mind. I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it when the first time he overdosed on painkillers, and I found him in the living room. I didn't see it the second time he overdosed on painkillers. And I found him, and I had to call 911. I didn't know what to do. I called 911, and I'm on the phone, and he kind of comes around enough to beg me to hang up the phone. Don't call 911, because if I call 911 and he's overdosed on painkillers, they're going to think he tried to kill himself, and they're going to 5250 him. They're going to put him in the psych ward for 3 days, and he begs me not to do it. So I hang up on 911. And you have a prize for this person. Get her a blanket, because she is correct. They call back. They do. They know it. They got your number. I don't know how. It's magic.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom?
They call back, and then you're in a position of lying to them and saying, no, it's okay, and you hang up the phone and it rings again. And then he's begging me, and they call back again, and I say, I can't talk, I'm putting him in the car, I'm driving him to Davies, and I hang up the phone. And then I just stay with him. And, I tell you that part of the story because it is such a level of denial. The denial that who can't see that? I didn't know. I didn't know. Smart guy, college educated, have a big job, didn't figure it out. I didn't get it. I didn't get it the third time he overdosed. I didn't get it when he was freaking out and staying out all night. I didn't get it when he didn't come home one night and I went driving around the city looking for him. I didn't get it. I still thought something was off. The level of denial in this disease is just mind-blowing. Until one day, it was Halloween night, and he was really freaking out, and he admitted to me that he was shooting drugs. And I said, you have to leave. And he had no job, and he had no money, and now he was addicted to drugs, and I threw him out on the street, and that's what happened. And it was horrible. It was horrible for everybody. Horrible for him, horrible when I changed the locks, horrible when he tried to break in the apartment, horrible that night at 4:30 in the morning when he broke in through the garage and was down banging around underneath the house in the storeroom, and I had to call the police. I didn't just call the police. I was alone. I was in bed. It's 4:30 in the morning, and he's downstairs, and I'm terrified that he's going to come up into the house. And but then I realized I wasn't alone. I had all of you. And so I called one of you, and you told me that I should call the police. And so I did. And I called the police, and 2 squad cars showed up, and we had to go. I'd take him into the garage, and they handcuffed my former husband and took him off somewhere. And I couldn't have done that without you, I couldn't have done that without you. And then, that was a real low point too. And things have gotten much better, I kept going on. I kept going to meetings. I had my sponsor, I met new people. I met another partner after that. I met a partner here in the rooms. And interesting, like the opening speaker from this weekend talked about, she met her partner in the rooms. And she mentioned something that we do, which is we live our relationship one day at a time, And it's not always easy. Often I would just love it if he would just, scream and throw a pot like a normal person. Fuck you! Never happens. It's worse. We have to sit down and talk about it. Really? It's terrible, but great. It's fantastic. My life is so much better because I live one day at a time in a much more real and authentic way now. I'm still friends with my first partner and my second partner. My second partner is now, I think he's about a year and a half clean, I think, we talk from time to time. Things can move on, you don't have to cut people out of your life, I've found. So I think one thing I'd like to share just a little bit on towards just a few more minutes is about how I find the program and how I see the program. You know, it says in one of the readings that it's a spiritual practice. And for me, the operative word there is practice. You know, I used to do yoga. I did yoga for like, 2 or 3 years. And now I haven't done it for like 4 or 5 years. You know, it doesn't work. I'm not limber. Look at this. That's it. That's as far as I go. You have to practice. You have to do it every day. Well, then one of the speakers last night said, you can't ski on last year's snow. You know, it's great that you were in program last year. That's fabulous. What did you do today? And today, you guys are all here. You guys got up, you got out of bed, you got dressed, you put the paper down, and you came downtown and you came to a meeting, which is fantastic. So I think you should all be very proud of that. You're working your program. You're practicing your program. You know, there's tons of opportunity to practice in the program, to practice doing what we do. Sponsorship is one. Who in here has a sponsor? Who in here is a sponsor? Great. You know, in both of those ways, we get to practice stuff, get to practice our boundaries. I used to think it was such bullshit before, that you will learn so much more from your sponsees. That just sounds like that can't be true. But it is. It is true. I love my sponsees, and I love that I have that opportunity to practice my boundaries and practice listening, to practice being there for somebody, and not fixing them. Because I need that practice. I really need that practice. I'm really good. I got 45 years of managing people. You go over here, you step over there. I can manage people. You know, letting people live their lives and be themselves, that I need a lot of practice in. So if you're not sponsoring somebody, I think you should really give that a look and really think about it for yourself. It's a gift to yourself that you get to practice that. I think another thing, and you've heard a lot about it tonight, this weekend, is service. The thing that I've noticed, or I've been thinking about a lot in terms of service, is the people that have been putting on this fantastic conference for all of us. I like to think of them as being different, that they're different. They're like somehow smarter and have like more time on their hands. They have huge organizational capability, and that they just can do stuff that I could never do. That is not correct. Sorry.
You get a blanket.
Bring it. They are exactly like you and you and you and you. They're exactly like all of us. Except what they have that some of us don't have is that they have courage. They are not afraid to let go, right? They're not afraid. I've lived a lot of my life tentative. I'm very tentative in my life. When I was a kid learning how to swim, I was holding on to the edge of the pool, kicking my legs, saying, "Look, I'm swimming, I'm swimming, I'm swimming." And I've lived much of my life like that, holding on to the edge of the pool. You don't get to live life very well like that. You don't get to see a lot when you're holding on to the edge. You've got to let go. And I think doing service is a way you can practice that. You can practice letting go and trying something. And, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You can be on a committee. You can try to help out. You can do service, and it will be okay. Clearly, you can do it imperfectly, right? You can make mistakes. It's okay. And I think service is a tremendous opportunity. So for you to try to practice that courage, to practice your program, to let go of whatever it is that's holding you on, let go of that fear that's keeping you. What is it? Why? Why don't you want to do service? You're really that busy? Really? I would invite you all to think about that and to think about how you can expand your own program. This is for you, your own program, by doing some service. So I think I would say that the scary stuff is where the growth is. It has been for me, and I invite you to try that. I want to close with just two other things. You know, my mom was very religious, and I 16 years of Catholic education, and at the end of that, I was like, I want none of it. You know, I don't want anything to do with God. God was like, no, I didn't want it. And that was a big barrier for me coming into program. It took me a while to get over the whole God thing. And then one day I realized something, it was ringing in my mind from something my mom had said like 30 years before, was that her prayer for me, she knew I didn't like the Catholic Church and religion, but her prayer for me was that someday I would find something in my life that worked for me as well as her religion worked for her. You know, she didn't tell me to go to church, she just said she hoped I'd find something that worked as well for me. And I have, here in program. So for all of that, I'd like to thank all of you, and thank you for coming out this morning, and thank you for being the audience of my dreams. So.
Thank you, Bob. Wow. That's a work in your program, and we got to share that with him. I think just, the highest form of service we can do is when we share. I mean, it means I'm not alone, and we can relate. So thank you, Bob. Let's thank the people who read today. We had Patrick doing the preamble, Augusta, the 12 steps, Kate, the 12 traditions, Adam, the obstacles, Kathy, the promises, and let's most thank Bob again.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs, long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.